My vision is making senior living, assisted living, not a necessity, but more of a desired destination.
That's great.
So instead of parents saying, okay, well, it's time, mom needs some help, mom wants to get out of her house.
Yes.
Because she's seeing all these fun, amazing things that are going on at this community.
Yeah.
And she wants to be a part of that because she's not getting it at home.
Yeah.
So even though these home health, these new technologies allowing residents to age in place longer at home, they're still missing out on the life that they can have.
Hey guys, let's be honest. Aging isn't what it used to be. Gone are the days of the old man or old woman sitting on the front porch on the rocking chair. I mean, we've got Adam Sandler, George Clooney, and Dr. Dre gracing the cover of AARP magazine. Not only that, but there are communities that are thriving with active lifestyle and living. People used to dread getting old, but let's be honest, most people over the age of 65 are living their best life. Well, same goes with senior living, with happy hours on demand and most people actually touting on who has the best chef. Senior living is not what it used to be, which is why I'm so excited to speak with today's guest, Scott McCorvie. Scott has started a new senior living company that is targeting those that want to experience fun, active lifestyles with assistance on managing the day-to-day lifestyle needs. Join me in understanding senior living in a whole new way as a resident or investment, and what to look for from both perspectives. Now let's dive in to see a new world of senior living.
Hi, and welcome to an Easy Step podcast. Here we bring you an inspiring person, message, or insight that will help you to take an easy step or a few toward living your best life. Now, here's your host, Court Potter, a former New York advertising executive turned real estate broker and entrepreneur who has always been passionate about learning what makes people successful. Thanks for spending time with us today. Now, let's get started with your easy step toward reaching your audacious goals.
I heard the statistic that 65 or 10,000 people a day are turning 65, which is mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling.
Yes, and they all are. And then what they're doing is they're moving into a lot of 55-plus communities that are active, and it's like they're retiring, and then going on like spring break for years, which seems really fun and cool. And so, why Vita Senior Living, and why now?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah.
So a little bit myself, I've been in senior living for about 18 years. Just fortunate to find a strong passion for it early in my career. Didn't know about senior living, and senior living is what I classify as independent, assisted living, and memory care. So it's private pay options that residents can move into, kind of apartment-style units, and they have the option for dining service and care and housekeeping and maintenance and everything like that. I didn't know about it when I was in college, but there was a company recruiting out of my college that did senior living appraisals. So I ended up meeting with them and then finding out about senior living. And once I started thinking about it, I was like, yes, this is a super new and specialized industry, and that'd be, great to specialize in it. So I did, but it wasn't until I visited my first community that I found that passion.
Oh, that's so cool.
Realized it wasn't real estate at all.
Yeah.
And it was really about the care and making an impact in someone's life. So I saw early on what a different senior living is, and that it's not real estate, really. It's really about the operations and about the care component to it. So ended up working for a few different companies. Initially, I was doing the market studies and appraisals for senior living communities across the country. Really great experience for me, though, because I got to visit different markets, see kind of different competitive influences and how site and design really impacts the overall operation and flow. But also I got a chance to meet and interview 500 executive directors, 500 marketing directors. So really understand core competencies, what really makes a really good leadership team. And that's what senior living is all about, creating the right teams that can foster the right interaction. So that's what really gave me, and I worked for a few real estate investment trusts. So I was on the investment side, purchasing quality communities and pairing them with the right operator based on the needs of that community. And that really got me more on the level of the operations side, working with the operators and seeing what a difference a quality operator can make in the overall experience of the resident. So really looking for those quality operators and seeing what made them stand out from the others really came down to a couple of things. Culture was huge. They all had a culture and a mindset of improvement, a mindset of growth. So that was a big thing, culture. And so at Vita Senior Living, we've got a culture. Our culture is a mission to improve. So everyone has a role. We're all in it together, but we're all into a mission to improve lives.
Awesome.
Everyone has a different role in it, but as long as we're on the same mission, that's it. So culture was really important. Also, geography. Just from my experience, seeing operators that had communities all across the country didn't perform as well as operators that had a defined footprint and can continually visit those properties and, for the standardization and making sure they have all the resources that they need. So I worked for the REITs, and then I ended up working for another owner-operator in South Florida. And that really opened up my eyes on the new direction of senior living. This is during COVID, which gave me the vision for Vita Senior Living, which I'm super excited about. Vita is Latin for life. So it's all about bringing new life to the senior living industry. It's all about improving someone's life. And that's why we're on a mission of improvement. So right now, to do that, we're buying already established communities around Florida that have just been lost their way for whatever reason, either operationally or real estate or both. So we're finding those good opportunities that have a good location, but just need some additional love. So we're going in there, fixing kind of all the real estate issues. So bringing in some fresh capital to clean up all the aesthetics, really make good landscaping and good market appeal. But on top of that, really improving the operations. So again, it's this mindset of connection, programming, resident experience. The residents are our clients. Focused on that, and let the residents be our best advertising tool. Let the residents speak how happy they are at their community and spread that messaging word of mouth to attract new residents in. So that's the vision. It's we're staying a really defined footprint. We have a really strong culture about a mission to improve. We're constantly looking for people that fit into that culture. We're growing through buying kind of, underperforming or communities that have lost their way and putting new life into them. And that's really what the focus is. And in doing that, improving someone's life at a critical time. So that's what I'm super excited about. You can tell I'm passionate about it.
Yeah, no, I
and,
think it's great. So it really is like mindset for not only you, but then also within the culture. You talk about the culture within each individual organization or company or senior living facility, but then it's also about the individual and how they're looking at aging and how they're really looking at the mindset of aging. How do you see like that transition happening and how that mindset of aging is really kind of evolved over the past few years, especially as baby boomers are getting older and they aren't really the stereotypical like old really mentality of aging. It's like more youthful. It's more keeping young and looking at new ways and technology in which they can, stay mentally engaged. Yeah. So how do you see that evolving within senior living just overall in general?
Yeah, that's why it's an exciting time too. I think anytime there's kind of lasting and meaningful change comes after a period of disruption. There's no bigger disruption in senior living than the recent COVID-19 pandemic. So that's another reason I knew timing was perfect to launch Vita Senior Living, because it's a period of change and there needs to be new direction. I just feel very compelled to be a kind of a leader for that new direction. So my vision is making senior living, assisted living, not a necessity, but more of a desired destination.
That's great.
So instead of parents saying, okay, well, it's time, mom needs some help, being, no, mom wants to get out of her house.
Yes.
Because she's seeing all these fun, amazing things that are going on at this community.
Yeah.
And she wants to be a part of that because she's not getting it at home.
Yeah.
So even though these home health, these new technologies allowing residents to age in place longer at home, they're still missing out on the life that they can have. So that's what the focus is on, that engagement, that resident experience, fostering those friendships and connections early, and having a full wellness model where healthcare is one component, but obviously medication management and healthcare is a big part of it. But that's one part of our overall wellness model that's really attracting the residents. So that's why it's a super exciting time. And also to do that, really changing the mindset of how residents are finding us and wanting to move into Vita Senior Living.
That's great.
Traditionally, it's been, like I said, kind of a need base. So family members, it usually happens around the holidays. They start to see mom and dad, deteriorate a little bit or need more care. So it's usually right after the holidays where a lot of these searches happen. So then what happens is you start asking around, friends and family typically first. do you know anyone? Mom, we're thinking about assisted living for mom. Do you know anyone? Do you know it? So that's why its reputation is so strong, because you have to be one of those first
Yes.
groups that are thought of when someone asks around. Then is the next is that, like everything else, the Google search. And so you've got to have a really strong online presence. That's really the first impression of our community, is visiting the website. We want you to get an overall, view and feel of the life of our community, our mission, our passionate team. And we're going to have videos from our employees and from our current residents, really kind of showing how excited they are to be in the community. So that's part of it, is changing the mindset and perception of senior living, making it a destination, but also changing the way that we get new residents. Still, a lot of placement agents are used. So, families go to a placement agent, and then, they look at different options.
Placement agent being like a place for mom,
Exactly.
or caring.com, or one of the other, tools that people use. Okay.
Yeah. So typically, you go to them. A lot of, and this is in the industry, people don't share their prices, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of this almost like mystery. A lot of there's mystery shoppings, and you can see what unit types there are, but there's no pricing. Totally different than apartments now, where you
Exactly.
can basically pick your unit, sign a lease, and do everything before you move in, right?
Exactly.
So trying to sophisticate that in senior living. So first thing, it's being transparent about pricing, putting it right on the website.
But the question is also, sorry to interrupt, but when you are looking at pricing, how does, Medicaid or Medicare get involved, or is it involved when you're looking at senior living? Because I think some people are concerned or worried about that, and that's
Yeah.
why they stay at home.
Yeah. So we're just private pay. So no Medicare or Medicaid.
Okay.
Senior living traditionally is private pay. So assisted living, independent is all private pay. Assisted living and memory care, sometimes they're state-sponsored government programs. But for the most part, it's private pay. Skilled nursing and nursing homes, when you get into more of the government reimbursements. However, those, there's still a lot of questions about, care and price and reputation. So that's why a lot of, these placement agents are used. And they charge a 1-month fee to the community.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Which, is a lot of people have the mindset that, it's just 1-month fee, but the typical operating margin in senior living right now is about 20%.
Oh, wow.
So that 1-month fee actually takes 5 months to break even.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it's hard to absorb, placement agents fees. So really trying to attract residents organically. And that's why it's about this, power of attraction. Less on advertising, but more on resident experience, and let the residents bring in and be our best recruiters.
That's great. Yeah. So you're talking about how when people typically go in. So my story was with my grandmother. She fell and broke her hip. And, I'm in Florida. My mom and my aunt are in Wyoming. Another aunt is in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then my uncle, is also in Kentucky. And everyone's trying to coordinate everything to try and figure out what to do, where she was going to go from the hospital to rehabilitation to then a facility, and then how we're going to sell her home and all of, her assets.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to organize everything, and it was just really stressful. And I thought, isn't it interesting? Like, is it typically when people like fall and break their hip, but it's the holidays and they see them deteriorating. But then my grandmother got into the facility and she found all these friends, and she, always had an activity, and then someone was always cooking her food.
Yeah.
And, so it definitely became, and how active it was. So, I thought that the old mentality of, what's taking place in a senior living facility is very different than what it used to.
Yeah.
So I think that, you're talking about like technology and how technology is really involved now, but then also like the culture and getting people involved with activities. Like how do you see programs really working with not only the resident, but then also keeping the family members engaged, knowing that those, they're participating or that they're happy, and just overall coordination with the client, as you say, the resident, but then also their family members.
Yeah. And I think it's, such an important concept. I think it's important to involve the families throughout the process initially and then throughout the entire stay. And that's why I love some of these new technologies, because they're allowing that availability even remotely, but allowing family members to stay involved with that resident during their experience and kind of share that with them through videos and photos and stuff they can see, as well as interactive schedules and things like that. I really think the future is programming and engagement in senior living. It used to be, this mentality, if you build it, they'll come, right? So we're providing healthcare. As long as we've got beds and a license and, nurses, then we're the one in shop in town and people will come. It's just a different mindset now.
Yeah.
And it's all about, improving. There's starting to be more sophisticated sales and marketing. So we're starting to see more like other real estate segments. And then also just the approach. So again, it's not about, come here because you need healthcare, but come here because you want to improve your life. You want a better quality of life. So it's focused on that dining experience, which is really important.
Yes, very important.
100%
My
of the time.
grandmother literally left one facility to another because the food was so bad.
Same thing my grandmother said to me when I worked at the REITs. She's like, she was in assisted living, and she's like, Scott, can you just buy this community and change everything, especially the food?
Yeah.
I was like, Grandma, I wish I could. It's just not that easy. But that kind of saw what a difference, I wish I could, right?
Sure.
But now I have a chance to do that. So it's all about, so food, connection is a huge part of that. The real estate is really a byproduct in senior living. It's really about that, that life that you have that's not the sticks and bricks and mortar. But having centralized all day kind of activity space, and then promoting that with very interactive engagements that's trying to foster connections. That's our job, is really trying to bring people together. We can't make you be friends, but we can have topics with similar interests and have you come together, and then you form those friendships.
So speaking of those friendships, do you find that most people are picking a facility in the town that they live in, or are they moving to be closer? Because, all of my family members are spread all over, the United States and, even abroad. So when they are you finding any of the clients, members, residents moving to closer to be around their kids or grandkids, or are they moving within their same town? And then how are they doing those searches? Yeah,
it used to be that mom or dad would move close to where they lived, right?
Sure.
So that's what they knew. So you'd look for something around there. But that's changing now too. It's a lot more of the adult children that are making decisions. And that decision is based on how often sometimes they can visit mom or dad. So they'll pick a community that maybe is closer to them so they can be more active. So it used to be within a 5 to 7 mile radius of the resident's own home they would move into. And that's really kind of changed now. It's really the whole market, but based on reputation. Who's, like I said, the first question is you ask your friends and other family members, especially if someone's experienced, putting someone into senior living. And then it's the Google search, and doing all of that. But it's not just a set defined radius now. It's really opened the doors. But as long as you're targeting those adult children, part of the process, because they're the ones that are really making the decision.
Okay.
And that's why these technologies are so important too. It's, the current residents are using it, but the adult children love it too, because they can be more interactive and stay more engaged in the resident during their stay.
Okay, so let's kind of go back to we were talking about the technology and how family members can be involved more. What are those technologies that you see that are happening? Is it more of actually at the facilities, or is it just online? What technologies are you seeing out there now?
Yeah, there's so many awesome technologies right now in senior living, which is super exciting. That's, I think, one positive that's come out of COVID is just a rate of acceptance of these new technologies in senior living. It was really a necessity to stay relevant during those lockdown times. So that's one of the amazing things about senior living now is just the new technology and the acceptance level. So that's really spurring a lot of new technologies hitting the space, which I'm huge on technologies, as long as it can hit a couple of things. One, increase resident engagement. So more connections, more engagement, getting residents out of their units and into the community, interacting, forming those friendships, really being in that life of the community. Also just raising costs in senior living across the board, labor, liability insurance, there's tons, increased sanitation protocols, there's just tons of new expenses. So any technology that can help with the efficiency, help keep those costs down, kind of repurpose some of those more mundane tasks like answering phone calls and reposition those to be more care-based and engagement-based. So really kind of reallocating staff to be more focused on the resident experience overall. And there's a lot of great technologies that can do that. There's tons that are coming out as we speak. But the great thing is seniors are tech savvy, you know?
Yeah.
It's so funny. I tell this story. My grandmother, when she first got her AOL account, she would email me constantly, which was great.
Yeah.
But then she'd start sending me these inappropriate emails. So I know she loved technology. And she ended up going to assisted living. But seniors know technology, and in fact, even these voice-enabled technologies are really being accepted in senior living that thought, 5 years ago wouldn't work at all. Again, that's based on acuity. Memory care can't do the voice-enabled technology as much, but technology has been a huge influence into it, and it's really about catering to the residents now, which are tech-savvy, but also in kind of the 4 to 7 years, we're going to have the baby boomer cohort really enter the senior living target demand pool. So technology is really important for the residents now, but it's also about preparing for the residents tomorrow.
Absolutely.
That are super tech savvy. They're using Alexa, they're using Amazon, they're on their tablets, and they're going to need these kind of technologies in senior living to stay relevant. So it's super important.
Do you see the residents like as couples, like, or do you see them more individual, like when one's passed and then the other one can't really handle, like, be on their own as much anymore?
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of my friends just are trying to figure out timing wise,
Yeah.
like when to talk to their parent, about potentially moving, and
Right.
when to talk to the parent about even just where they would want to go, just those initial conversations.
Yep.
So, I guess, how do you look at them pitching it, and what is the right timing? You said, typically around the holidays, but do you also see it when one has, like, on their own now that, their loved one's passed, or is it just kind of across the board?
Yeah. So we're going to offer, assisted living and sometimes memory care at all our communities, but we're also going to offer just retirement living. So you can still come in here if you don't need any care.
That's great.
And still enjoy
So there's
the
different
life.
phases. So
There's
you can
different
go in
phases.
when you're, like, retired, or you can go in
That's it.
to when, let's say that you just start to need more assistance,
Yeah.
and then you can kind of go to the next phase.
Come in initially, for the lifestyle upgrade, but know the care is
it.
there when you need it. And that's the whole thing. It's having that full continuum because there is such a cost of attracting a new resident. And to answer your question, so it's still about 70% female because females live longer than us guys.
Okay.
The average age, though, is going up. So in assisted living, it used to be in 81, then it was like 82, 83, now it's 84. And that just means that the acuity is going up. So I said that's really the future, is we've got to bring that age back down.
Okay.
We've got to get residents that are wanting to move in instead of, I have to because of whatever reason.
Exactly.
So that's part of it. It's still not a lot of couples, so mostly singles, but there is that new independent or active adult segment, which is really exciting. So independent living is kind of apartment living. You still have all the programming and you have the activities, but you don't have the health care per se. So there's no nursing care. It's not licensed, but you still have all the retirement benefits, including the restaurant style dining on site, which is important. Active adult is that concept without the dining or any services. So it's almost like an apartment.
Got it.
That's age restricted, but they still have focus activities for those residents. So what my concept is trying to incorporate all of that into one model. So come in early, enjoy it for the engagement, the dining, everything about
all the amenities.
wellness.
Yeah.
But we also will have that nursing care when it's needed, and our staff is there to provide that care whenever it's needed. So it's a really kind of the full phase of the kind of continuum of care of a resident is really what we're trying to capture.
That's really cool. Do you find that they're more concentrated in, like, the southern states than they are in the northern states, or is it, like, evolving that way? Just curious, as because you're seeing so many people after COVID migrating to, Florida, Texas, Arizona, not so much California anymore. Those taxes are killing everybody. But do you see, people migrating more south when they're making this transition?
Yeah, there's been a ton. That's one thing I'm Vita Senior Living is just focused in Florida right now,
Okay.
for a couple of reasons. One, just it's the net migration the last few years has been tremendous, as you know, in Florida. Just a lot of new move-ins, a lot of new people moving to Florida that didn't from other states, and COVID was a reason. So we've had tons of new population, which is obviously hitting housing prices, as we know.
Yes.
Housing prices in Florida are, skyrocketing, which is now trickling over to multifamily and apartments, and those rents are up 35% over last year now too. Now, I'm not saying that's going to go to seniors housing, but that's just the way real estate works and housing works in general. So that's one reason we're focused on Florida. But also just the strong demographics, as you mentioned, the growing demographics, and finding those right demographics, and having the two demographics, really the senior and the adult children, really marketing and targeting both.
Okay.
Because together they're making the decision.
Now, let's say that people are wanting to really invest into senior living because they see that migration happening and they're looking to invest into different industries, but then they also are looking at what's happening with their loved ones. Like when someone wants to invest into senior living, what does that even look like? Because it seems as though that it's so heavily operational based. And I think some people, in my experience in commercial real estate, some people don't realize that till they get into it. So if someone's looking to this is what's happening with my mom or my father, how exactly would you recommend? And I want to invest into, senior living, seeing what's going on. What advice would you have for those that, are trying to look for investment opportunities, trying to take care of their loved ones, and really justify the research behind all of their new experience, per se, in senior living?
Yeah, great question. So investing in senior living is very specialized. I'm a scholar. I know your real estate side. I'm a scholar of commercial real estate in general. I've got undergraduate and graduate degrees in real estate. So I follow all the real estate segments, even though my love and passion is in senior living, which is a very kind of specialized segment within the overall commercial real estate class. So senior living, seniors housing, has the highest returns out of all the segments because it's so specialized. And the reason is because it takes a lot of specialized knowledge, and it's not just the real estate, it's so much about the operations. And I learned that through working at these real estate investment trusts. So people would buy shares, and we would take that capital and invest in senior living communities and then pair it with the right operator. But that was a third-party management agreement. So at Vita, it's a different concept that we operate everything we own. So we have full control of the real estate and the operations. And that was part of the challenges of, seeing all these areas of improvement, but then having the third-party manager to actually follow up with that.
Got it.
Here, it's, we're doing it all internally. So investing in senior living is different. There's different ways you can do it if you want to get into it. There's, like I said, it's very high returns, but there's higher risks. So you've really got to work with someone and know what you're doing, or work with someone that knows what you're doing. You can invest in publicly traded REITs that do healthcare. I've had experience working in the REITs, and that's what they do is, they purchase these facilities and then they distribute the income back to shareholders in a dividend. You can do, invest in individual real estate investments there. But again, I just caution any investor to not think of this like any other real estate segment. To think of this almost like you're buying a mini business, and that's really what it is. It's you're buying a business and you're trying to improve that business through better marketing and then also better expense controls.
And so I had someone call me one time and they were like, I am selling 7 homes, which have 3 individuals in each home. And then there's someone that goes around and manages each one of those homes, which I'd never heard of that before. So it seems as though that there's like really small mom and pop that aren't in. I read a statistic that like not all senior living facilities are actually even registered with the state. That it's like something mind-boggling, like only half of them are.
Yeah,
so
homes.
You have to actually look and research and confirm that they're registered with the state. So what advice when someone's looking for a senior living facility, what would, looking at culture, looking at, all the amenities and how everything's managed for your loved one, what are some other things, bullet points, so to speak, checklist that people should consider when they're looking at facility, not just as an investment, but specifically for an individual?
Yeah, looking to move in. And that was a good concept. I wanted to mention, you made a good point that I wanted to touch on. So I'm talking about when I say like larger, kind of 40 to 200 unit, senior living communities. But the majority of assisted living are 6 beds or less, what we call group homes.
Oh, interesting.
And
Okay.
these are just tons of group homes that people just have passionate about, having their house and then having residents there, and they take care of them. So there's tons of those. Different kind of, industry than what I'm doing, but those you can usually get Medicaid options as well for that. So I'd say the first thing to do is, like anything, is to do your homework, understand kind of what the conditions are, what your needs are, and then do your research. So finding those resources, online resources, websites that you can go to learn about the different care options, and then find someone that you trust that's been through it. Typically, there's a family member, like you said, your grandmother, my grandmother, that's been through the process. So finding someone and talking to them about the process. But I think the biggest thing is visiting the communities, and just everyone knows when you walk in, you can kind of get a feel.
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
So that's what I'm focused on. When you first walk in, you feel the life of the community, and it's all about that, that impression. As soon as you walk in, I want you to be like, yes, this is home.
That's awesome.
So I definitely encourage everyone to, obviously first visit the website, but touring those communities, interacting with the staff, and then, maybe following up with some current residents and, finding out what their experience is. But doing the research, there's a lot of options out there, but making an educated decision and following, your instinct. And, when you walk into a community, and that's why we're so focused on keeping everything clean and organized well, too, because the care might be great, but if you see a broken, shutter, if you see some stains on the ground, kind of what's your perception on the care, right?
Sure.
So if you walk in,
They're willing to overlook that.
Right.
Then what else are they willing to overlook?
Yeah, behind
Yes.
closed doors. Yeah.
Totally.
So making sure everything is aesthetically pleasing.
Sure.
Is good for the overall mindset, because we're focused on the care. We won't want people questioning the care because they see stains and trash on the ground.
Sure. That's great.
So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Perfect. That's helpful. Well, Scott, I'm so appreciative for your time and so excited for your new venture.
Thank you.
Vita Senior Living. And we'll have to keep everyone posted as to what takes place next.
Well, thanks so much for having me on the show. This has been so fun. It's been great connecting with you.
Yeah, same here. Thank you.
Thanks for spending time with Scott and I today. I hope you are inspired to not only look at senior living from a new perspective, but to understand how far the industry has come in catering to those that are older. If you're interested in learning more as an investor, check out Scott's podcast, The Inner Circle, where he discusses the world of senior living as an operator and investor. Or check out Vita Senior Living. That's VITA seniorliving.com. If you like today's podcast, please share with a friend, subscribe, and like. And until next time, have a great one.